Should you AI or should you not AI? Is AI going to replace you or are you going to stay ahead of it? Should AI be complementary? Should AI do it all for you? These and probably many other questions many of you are thinking about. Some of you probably aren't even thinking about it. And I'm here to warn you, you better. And that is going to be one of the primary conversation pieces on this episode with my new friend, the owner of a marketing agency, also creates CRM solutions for a company called Market Surge. Reed Hansen is an expert on these topics, does this for a multitude of industries. And we stumbled upon each other, and I thought, well, he can bring some value to our real estate industry, and that's why he's here. So, Reed, thanks for joining us.
I'm delighted to be here and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you give us a little background about yourself, and then let's jump right in from there.
Absolutely. Like you said, I'm Reed Hansen. I'm the Chief Growth Officer and owner at Market Surge. I help real estate professionals and service-based businesses turn scattered marketing into predictable revenue machines. I really like to use that term, and I'll probably use that too much in our conversation, but love the concept of you feed the machine and it outputs revenue, sales. And so these tools that you can do that with is automation, SEO, AI, social media, things that drive actual results. I do have an MBA, have an extensive background in sales, both in marketing agency sales and software and technology sales. I've been spending the last decade building systems that help agents and local businesses rank higher, get more leads, and close faster, hopefully with less stress, but definitely fewer cold calls. I work with agents to boost their Google rankings, automate review requests, and warm up leads with AI, with content and social strategies. In the past, I've run sales growth for multiple other seven-figure agencies. But these days, I have really enjoyed working with the real estate agents, whether they're solo or with a larger agency, to get established and grow in their local markets and not burn out on the marketing part of the job. I'm also a runner. I lift heavy things for fun, and I do boxing as a hobby. And I'm just really excited to talk about AI, digital marketing, and things that make your business grow.
Where are you based out of?
I'm in Evanston, Illinois, so the first suburb north of Chicago, home of Northwestern University, for
Does that
context.
make you a Cubs fan, a White Sox fan, a Brewers fan? Which are you?
Yeah, I think Cubs fan would be most applicable. I mean, I'll follow all the area teams, and once in a while, once every century or so, it pays off with the Cubs. So, we're pretty happy about that.
No, Century, he said. And
Yeah.
by the way, I'm a St. Louisan by but my background, and so we've made it a lifetime of making fun of the Cubs and the Cubs fans and whatnot.
Well, deservedly so. I mean, it's a much more you're running laps around us.
It's a fun rivalry. We have
It
good
is.
times. All right. So you mentioned two things there. I'm going to stay personal for a second. By the way,
Yeah.
you're speaking my love language when you speak about running. That's also, I'm a runner as well. We could probably do an entire episode just talking about running, but I think that would bore everyone. So we won't do that. But you also mentioned something even before we get to the AI conversation, about automation. And I want to make sure we talk about that. I'm gonna skip over it, but I want to mention this because I'm gonna challenge you.
Okay.
And automation, in my opinion, has arguably become potentially overused in our industry, to the point where even with AI, I think a lot of, and this isn't just real estate, this is most industries, those that are paying attention are looking at platforms like Go High Level, which you use, right? And
Right.
and that's the best platform out there, in my opinion, right? It's over most people's heads. But when you talk about automation, when you talk about AI, both of them effectively remove the human from the equation. And too much of it is arguably detrimental. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. So I want to make sure we do talk about that. I want to shift right into the AI conversation and really just ask you first and foremost, AI is gone from 0 to 10 million in a couple of years, right? It's moving so incredibly fast. It's really almost impossible to even keep up with everything that's happening. So let's start. My first question to you is what portion of AI, what platforms within AI should a real estate agent, a mortgage professional, an individual sales person who is building their own personal brand, what should they be most focused on as far as AI is concerned?
Well, that's a great question. And as you were saying, AI probably in the last 3, 4, or 5 years has gone from the villain in science fiction movies to something that's very accessible to the average Joe. And I'll go back to my background. I'm not a technologist, or a computer developer. I majored in Italian in undergrad. And I like to say that AI is one of the most empowering tools for creative, non-technical minded people, since as long as we can remember, because it not only enables you to create content at a rapid speed with the prompts that you can infuse it with and inspire it with, then it also can now, I mean, this is like 48 hours old. Like at the free tier level, you can generate production quality graphics on the free tier of ChatGPT that can really, you can populate a whole website with the free tier of ChatGPT. Have that entirely designed by AI. Um, I'm not even mentioning how you can you can learn how to code, but you can also download entire sections of code, build entire games with OpenAI, with Grok, that are actually functional. And these are the free tiers of all of these AI providers. Now, when in the paid tiers, you can develop agents that store extensive amounts of information that can act like virtual employees, virtual assistants. In many cases, they can be customer facing. They can field basic questions or schedule appointments. But in other cases, they can do a lot of the heavy lifting on researching a market or researching an expensive purchase, major purchase, or uh, insight on key publications in your field. And in mass, I know that GPT has been heavily used in analyzing this. The JFK files that just got released this week, 80,000 documents, and and summarizing those. So there's just enables you to do more faster, and that's how you should think of it. It is not to replace you, because as Jeff mentioned, we're still in this uncanny valley, and I think a lot of people can recognize when they're being marketed to by a bot and by an automation flow, and you have to infuse your use of AI with as much customization as possible. So I think I touched on your question, but I can dive in deeper if anything specific.
Yeah. So, if with all of that said, what specific platform? So,
Yeah,
let's say I'm a real estate agent, and I
yeah.
said, "All right, Reed, I'm not really doing much with AI. I've sat through some trainings. I've dabbled with ChatGPT, Grok, whatever. Um, I need to dive in. Which one should I dive in with first?"
Well, like I said, I would start with the free version of ChatGPT, which gives you a limited amount of search. So what that would involve is downloading the app either on your phone or on your desktop, and then creating an account with OpenAI. And the OpenAI is the engine that feeds it. The Chat GPT is what's on the screen, what you actually type in, and get familiar with conversational AI. So this is where it kind of works like a Google search engine where you ask it questions and it returns responses. But it's much, much more robust. You can ask it more substantive questions and it will provide additional analysis. It will consult multiple sources and uh, consolidate those in a response. Um, and within the ChatGPT ecosphere, there's hundreds or more, thousands of individual GPTs that have been tuned to either create graphics or create, say, like recipes or market insights about your local area. So you can experiment with those. And again, this is a free tool. And then I'm not here to pitch ChatGPT, of course, but Grok functions very similar. Does seem to have a little bit more of a leaning um, uh, towards like coding. It's a little stronger in coding, but both of those can be used to generate high quality social media posts, blog posts that are infused with keywords that are valuable to the people, your target audience. Um, and you can repurpose content. So you take a blog you've written, you can repurpose it for LinkedIn, for Facebook. Make those fit the constraints of those platforms. So that at the very basic level, that is where I would start. Now, when the 200 level, I would suggest looking into some of the media generators. So like you can generate video. There are, for instance, if you were to create an informational video, you could use something like Descript that creates both the script and it gives you an AI avatar. Can be of your face, but you can do these in mass and say like, here are the 10 here's 10 videos on how to buy a home for the first time. And if you created that series, you could be done in a couple hours and have that ready to go. Or create webinars, like what we're doing now. Those are completely doable on a platform like Descript. Now, when we're talking about automation, so Go High Level does have some automation built into it, some AI capabilities to build out marketing workflows and funnels. So, not to oversell it, but there are CRM platforms that can enable you to build landing pages from scratch. You can build the marketing funnel from scratch. You can build the graphics and the text. And when I say from scratch, it requires some prompting from you, some instructions, and the more instructions you give it, the better. But it takes a task that could take days, weeks, and shrinks it into minutes. And so that's probably about the 300 level. And then the 400 level is where you are training a chat bot to interact with your potential clients. So has to be done carefully, and I'd probably suggest taking baby steps into that direction if you ever do get there. And maybe, I mean, I think a governing principle should be your business will never run completely without you and without your input. And your clients will never want to interact with an agent that completely automates everything. Like they will need a warm touch. They'll need these one-off touch base texts or calls to check in and just a reality check. But these AI bots can handle appointment setting quite effectively. Some of the routine things, the constant problem I have between real estate agents and service businesses is you are doing a job. you're showing a home, you're repairing ventilation system, and you're metaphorically both of your hands are occupied. The phone rings, and 80% of people do business with the first person that answers the phone. And that is a great use case for AI where it can respond. There's voice AI agents or just text AI agents, which I prefer, but it can respond immediately, and hopefully you capture that 80% while you're doing your job. Um, so I'll pause there, but I think at the 1, 2, 3, and 400 level, that's my summary of where you
What level is deepfake at?
deepfake. So deepfake would I mean, I think it would be the graduate level, because you would have to know all the ins and outs of the legalities of doing that, the potential consequences you would be facing. So
Well, I mean, even and for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, deepfake is the fake version of a human. You
yeah,
can literally emulate or make it look like Donald Trump or any famous person or yourself. I'll tell you, Reed, we're doing this within we do social media management, and we've been testing it on our clients that we can't get in front of the camera.
okay,
And it's incredibly crazy. Not only are we using deepfake, but we're using a song generator, AI song generator, which creates a jingle for their business, which is wild. Like you literally give it a
uh,
prompt, and within 30 seconds, it spits out a 2 or 3 minute song, and it's a jingle about like a literally it's like a commercial on the radio. It's wild.
I
And
love
then
it.
and then we double it with the deepfake. But I do that stuff and I talk about that stuff for two reasons, which goes back to our original conversation about this, is that, and I did a video about this just this week, ironically, I said, the one place that I feel like AI, and specifically deepfake AI as well, will never outperform you is that deepfake and AI will never have true emotions. They'll never have true authenticity. It'll never have a legitimate, like real opinions and things like that. And so I guess my threat, the point of my message was, if you're not willing to get in front of the camera, if you're not willing to be yourself and use the human attributes that you are, that's where AI will kick your ass. And that's exactly what I said in my video. And it's like, that's where a deep fake will destroy you because it doesn't need to sleep. It doesn't need to rest. It can produce content all day, all night, which I'm not threatened by because I can beat AI with just being human. But there's so many out there that aren't even taking advantage of the most simplistic thing, like going to ChatGPT and asking it to assist in writing a caption for a listing, write a caption and hashtags for a social media post, even give it social media post ideas. And so, again, with all of that said, going back to level one, which is ChatGPT and Grok, and I wanted to ask you a question about Grok.
Yeah.
Um, Let me ask you my question first, which is, what would be some suggestions for people on the relatively beginner side of the scale as to how they could be using ChatGPT? That's the first question. The second question about Grok is specifically, as you mentioned both, and you mentioned that Grok is maybe stronger in coding. Does that really matter to a real estate agent?
Okay, so your first question about things, getting started. If you're, obviously the first thing you're going to do when you log into your Chat GPT interface, your either your phone app or your screen, is you're going to Google. You're going to do like something that you would do in Google. You're
Yeah.
going to search like, tell me the best restaurants near me. You'll do something basic, and you'll kind of start to learn like how it responds. And but then um, you should understand that there are context windows. So within as you've opened your window, that you've started a conversation, the uh, the AI can hold in its ready memory, it can hold the every conversation that is above what is scrolling below. So you've asked about restaurants, and then listed three restaurants, and then you said, "Oh, great, I love Korean," and so it stores that fact in memory. And then the next thing you ask is, "Oh, what are some good movies?" And then you may be surprised to see that it suggests like five movies, and three of them were Korean movies, and it's because it is actively learning from you. Now, that is all stored in memory, but then you close the app, you open it again tomorrow, and you say, I was thinking about those Korean restaurants. Can tell me those Korean restaurants again? It won't remember. This is a separate conversation and a separate chain of thought. So you have to utilize that feature of AI in the best way possible. Both Chat GPT and Grok give you the ability to upload documents and additional like wikis or websites that have information that are contextual. So because otherwise, every time you open the app, it will you'll say like, "Oh, create me a social media post for my business," and it'll create a generic one, and it'll be like, "Well, no, we've been talking," and it's like, "No, you haven't leveraged stored memory to do that." So whenever you can, keep in mind that it remembers this train of thought, or this train of thought, but there's no carryover between the two conversations. You can create custom agents though. And the custom agent is like a mini GPT, and you can store information. You give a 1,000-page summary of your business, your LinkedIn profile, all this to reference when you then ask it for blog creation or specific information about marketing strategy. It will go back to the information you've uploaded. So keep in mind that there's an agent ability, the ability to make agents, and then there's kind of blank, like you're meeting a stranger and asking them a question. So keeping that in mind is really important. Also, that when you start paying for the more advanced levels, that these GPTs can take on they can do actual tasks. So you can do very deep learning where it can give you summaries of entire books and take insights that would be applicable. And then in addition, at the new level that ChatGPT released a couple months ago, I think it was a couple months ago, the operator, which is $200 a month. So it's an investment, but it can actually log into your systems with your login and password and perform actions in those platforms as you. And you want to feel pretty comfortable with the instructions you give it if that operator has the ability to has access to your password. But that's quite powerful, and that's starting to act like a real human assistant.
What's an example of what something it would do?
Booking travel is the primary example that it asks. So you'd say, and even imagine like a complex situation, like you have a travel booking system that's a part of your company, and so you can ask it to. So I need to go to this conference. I need 3 nights. I need I need transportation from the airport to the venue, and then I need a hotel that's not too far. And it can actually, it takes all those things into consideration, and it will come back and say, give me your username and password. Done. And then it will go through and do that and provide an itinerary with the confirmations. And so that would be one example. Another could be like, I need to shop.
Well, let me stop you real
Yeah.
quick before you go to the next one.
Yeah.
Does it obviously come back to you and say, "Here's what I found. Do you want me to book it?"
So if you can instruct it to, it may ask for additional information, it may not. So you you get to instruct it how to proceed. So say like, give me three options. It will come back with three options. If you say just book the best or book the shortest flights, or nonstop flights, it will just go ahead and do it.
How does it book it though without payment information?
I mean, it again, it will store. So I guess I'm jumping ahead, but it can request that payment information and store it for you. Um, so how it's really whatever you could do with a mouse and a keyboard, the operator is able to do. Yeah.
So what was the next one you were going to say?
If you're making other large purchases, so like if you were, um, let's say like you're shopping for furniture and you say like, just I need a couch of this dimension, this brown leather, and can find me the best one and purchase, and have it shipped before this date, and I mean, boom, it happens. So
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
So do you feel like that there's going to be a place for a tool like that inside of a business like real estate?
Yeah, that's a good question. And a lot of these things are so new that like the use cases are like you have to kind of you have to play with them. But what I could totally see a real estate business using is, um, for instance, like the variety of services, like what, um, and this might be less operator and more like deep learning, but like tell me about the other homes that have been sold within a certain radius, and what services they used to enhance their listing, for instance. Did they use aerial photography, or did they, so it can analyze what's worked in the nearby area, and provide that. That's probably closer to deep learning than operator. Um, and I don't necessarily, like you said, I don't really have a use case top of mind for that, but I do think we should be aware of that. And though those use cases, I haven't seen one for real
Mhm.
estate, but I do think we should be aware, and
Sure.
make it
Sure.
a friend, not a foe.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So as far as AI is concerned, and I don't know if did you cover that question that I had? Because I think some people get lost in, well, which one should I choose, ChatGPT or Grok? And again, you mentioned the coding thing. So, but what would be your suggestion? Is which platform
Yeah.
is it better, or is it just potato potato and
Yeah. I think that right now, I don't know. Like it is constantly changing. Like ask me tomorrow, I might have a different opinion. I'm just mesmerized by this image generator that ChatGPT released this week on their
Mhm.
4.0 free tier. And I've generated a ton of graphics. Of course, I've been like taking my headshot and making it look like I was in the Matrix, or I was in a comic book, and doing the goofy stuff. But um, I asked for a logo that made it look like, like just make it more exciting, and it like made this beautiful logo. The Just out of the asset I had. Um, in 30 seconds. Um, and I don't want to lose my train of thought. So your question is primarily like, what would you choose? So I think the most accessible right now is ChatGPT. Use the free tier. If you come up on any limits, it's $20 a month. So um, I'm one that I like to try everything that comes my way. I'm very friendly to inbound sales calls, and we'll take a meeting with just about anybody just to try what they have. And um, so I'll take a trial. I've probably tried 100 different AI platforms in the last year, and um, most of them are excuse me, most of them are a little bit more task oriented. Like, there's a content AI, there's a video gen AI, there's a video editing AI, there's a proofreading AI. But I would start with ChatGPT. It's completely open. It can do anything that an AI can do. Um, the advantage is it's a generalist. It's not specific, and so you will need to provide it a lot of input and frameworks, because if you compared it to like Jasper AI, which is a pure content creation AI. Jasper will give you all these fields to complete a blog, whereas with ChatGPT, you have to make the structure that instructs the ChatGPT how to make the blog look a certain way. Um, the and that brings me to another thing that I should have mentioned earlier, is the use of prompts. So uh, the difference between a Jasper, which is really well attuned to making blogs and social media content, because it like gives you the baby steps of making a blog. Like, here, what should be a title, or what do you want in the title, or what keywords you want to use, what how many sections do you want? Do you want to use tables? Do you want a graphic? You just go through and fill out all those things. That's essentially prompting. Now, within ChatGPT, um, you can always Google prompts or whatnot, but the more framework you give an AI, the better the output will be. So, say like, give me a marketing strategy for my real estate empire here, and it will spit out, well, call a bunch of prospective home buyers, like have a website, say like very general things. But what you're really asking is like, well, I need some new clients quickly, and that's my interest right now. So the prompt would be more like, um, you give it the current need, the time frame, the kind of answer you want to receive. Like, I need 5 steps to get new clients now. And the more structure you give it, the better it will behave. So, and I say behave, I almost think of these as like, approaching human employees. But the more you think of it as something that is learning from you, then the better the outcome.
Yeah. It's fascinating, and I think there's a lot to really digest. But again, as we've mentioned, it's really just a matter of, again, dipping your toe in the water.
Yeah.
You don't go from 0 to 100 in this arena, or really any. And so anybody listening to this who's really not employing ChatGPT, almost like you employ Google, because I think Google is one of those things where it's evolved, and the amount of times that, and I would say pre ChatGPT, pre today's era, the amount of times that an average human could say how many times I asked Google a question, on average, it's probably wild. And I think obviously that's going to be replaced more with ChatGPT, but I think that's what you need to build as that repetition in your life. And you need to think to yourself, oh, I should ask ChatGPT. I use it all the time. It doesn't always give me the output I want, but it usually puts me on the right path. Sometimes it's awesome. Other times I've got to ask for more options, but it saves me so much time and allows me to do so much more output. And I think so many people are just missing the boat on that. And there's a lot of opportunity there. So I don't want to beat it into the ground, because this is kind of a 30,000 foot conversation of more of get your head out of your ass and get using it. I wanted to ask you before we run out of time too, because you are an expert, in various arenas in the digital marketing space. Email and text is a very common way that real estate agents communicate. What type of advice and strategies would you advise a real estate agent to potentially employ as it relates to those two?
Yeah, and this is top of mind, of course, because I do a lot of email marketing, and I have automated emails. But I found that my best email campaigns include a couple things. They include multiple platforms. Um, and they include manual steps. And when I say manual steps, I mean like something where um, I log in and I type out the message, or I log in and I make the call. So there, and to your earlier point, like we can't go completely automated. It's, people are exhausted of it. And there's some backlash between people that do mass emailing and the large email providers like Microsoft and Google that just have really tightened their email filters. So if you rely completely on automated emails, your domain will be polluted, and you will not be able to even send basic emails from your domain. Um, so what you need to do is, if you have an automated outreach email, the next step should be a manual step. It's a call follow-up. It's a text follow-up where you actually know something about the individual, and you follow it with a custom message. Um, like you've checked their LinkedIn profile, you've seen that they recently got a new job, or or they posted, they were clearly very interested in March Madness or something, and in including those little touches shows that you spent some time getting getting to know them a little bit. And
Mhm.
um, but that said, you can do both. Um, I would, so from a high level, including, of course, in any mass emailing, you're going to use your um, custom email or custom fields, like make sure that you say hi, their real first name. Most CRMs enable you to do that, and reference something personal about them that's in your database. Like if you're pulling, I see you live in this neighborhood, or I see, have you enjoyed working at this company? Something like that. Then, um, those are that's like very basic for sending an email. No sending out hi or hey you, comma, then that's just not, that's like
Not
1990s.
authentic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then, I would consider using, so this is a technical piece, but for if you're sending out a lot of emails, I would consider using an adjacent domain to yours to send out those emails. So your main domain does not get blacklisted by servers. So if you're sending out like 1,000 emails, and you're Aaron Jackson, um, aaronjackson.com. That would be sweet if you could get that URL. But you're sending emails out from um, uh, get real with aaronjackson.com. Those are where your mass emails come out. Your personalized business focus emails come from your main domain. People you're already working with. That's, and I have about like six other domains that are adjacent. They're like Get Market Surge, Meet Market Surge, Try Market Surge, where I send out prospecting emails and newsletter emails. Um, so it's like keep the spam score low.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but I even think that is probably over the heads of a lot of real estate agents. And so,
There.
again, just simplifying it,
Yeah.
what if they're not employing a regular touch via email and text, what would be your best advice for an agent? Um, outside of obviously using a CRM, which in our industry, it's CRMs like Follow Up Boss and those types of platforms that are pretty
Yeah.
common. But let's just talk to the agent who maybe doesn't have a budget for that, or maybe just doesn't have the business to feel like they can justify it. How do you recommend they integrate email and text marketing into their business if they're trying to work on a shoestring or they're relatively new to the game?
Okay. That's fair. So, I think one principle is to niche down, and to like, really hone in on one kind of buyer. If it's an investor, or if it's um, a renovator, or a first-time home buyer, something like that. These, so niche down is always a good practice. When you're small, authenticity is um, partially inevitable because you're going to do a lot of things that don't look polished, but it's a huge advantage over what you would see against larger competitors. You can feature yourself, your own blog writing. You can feature your own videos and be genuine in these emails. Um, like if you're on a shoestring budget, write a blog, 2 or 3 blogs a week. You can consolidate them into what is a newsletter, and that newsletter can just be in the body of an email, just a summary of the 3 blog posts, and you can send it to the people that you talk to on a regular basis, and you can just keep a list and say like hey, how are you? Here's what's new on aaronjackson.com, and how's any change in your status, let me know. And or if you hear of anybody moving to the area, let me know. So those are, I think niching down and authenticity are always your advantage when you're starting out. And just try to generate value. Like when you write these blogs, give real insights from what your training has provided, or what you're hearing from your fellow agents or from people on the street. Real estate agents talk to about as many people as any business owner, and have tons of information that's valuable, like in the neighborhood. And then turn that into value for your list. So
I love it. I
hope
love
that
it.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Any really parting thoughts on all of this conversation as a whole, as advice to a real estate agent?
And that's a great question. I think the irony about the rise of AI and automation is that if I could go back to what I said earlier, is that it will result in smaller businesses having more power, because people will choose to do business with people that they know, that they're real, that they can see and meet, and they will become more suspicious of anything that seems artificial, processed, automated. And so anything you can infuse with your personality, your brand, is just so valuable. You get to promote yourself as a agent, as a business owner potentially, and take every opportunity to put your face on your marketing material, your voice in your correspondence, and just be real. Don't be formal. Don't try to be somebody else. Try to just be as genuine as possible. And this technology is going to work to your advantage.
Great parting thoughts. And if somebody wanted to connect with you, what is the best way to A, connect with you, and B, maybe just follow?
Great. Yeah. So I would go to marketsurge.io, and there is a contact us form. You can contact me at read@marketsurge.io, or my socials are all linked at the bottom of that page, and you can follow my YouTube channel or the blog. And again, I'm very pro solopreneur, pro real estate agent, and just really excited to see these technologies evolve and become great assets to us. So,
Fantastic. Reed, I
yeah.
appreciate it, man. It's been a good conversation. It's been fun nerding out on some of these
Yeah.
topics with you. And I hope it's a swift kick in the ass for some of you. I mean, you got to take this stuff serious. If you've survived this long, it's you've got to evolve. And I think there's a reason why many of you have survived this long, and it's because you're the ones that did evolve. But it's got to continue, and it's continuing at such a rapid pace. It's not the way business was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, et cetera. It's faster, and you got to
Yes.
adopt quick. So, Reed, I appreciate you being on today. I appreciate you sharing with your audience. Make sure you get connected with Reed at Market Surge, and see you on the next one.